Hello, welcome to Florida Sports Podcast. Today we are going to be talking about some of the top headlines in Florida sports. You can subscribe at soundcloud.com/Florida Sports Podcast. I will be uploading hopefully consistently through the next coming year. I'm just a young journalism student aspiring to go to the University of Florida, Florida State, or UCF for that profession. Here's for the best, So, first off, in Florida sports, the Orlando Magic has been in the news recently. They signed Jonathan Simmons, former Spurs guard, to a 3-year, $20 million deal. Now, from a front office in the Orlando Magic, a new front office with John Hammond, the new general manager, former Bucks manager, drafted Giannis Antetokounmpo. Hopefully, he can bring a new sense of leadership to this organization that's been struggling and rebuilding for many years now, since the Dwight Howard departure. Former Magic GM Rob Hennigan was notorious for signing people to massive contracts, like Bismack Biyombo, 4 years, $70 million. It's insane. He's a solid player, but I don't know if he's worth that much money. But when I saw we signed Jonathan Simmons, I was a little worried. I thought, I hope we didn't overpay for him. But 3 years, $20 million is definitely solid. That's not overpaying, especially with the new CBA coming up in a couple of years. We'll see how much that's actually, how much of the cake that cuts into. He was a solid bench player for the Spurs most of the season. And in the playoffs, when he was called upon, he performed. He averaged 10.5 points per game in the playoffs. He was also like a walking highlight reel. He can jump out of the gym. He blocks shots off the backboard. If you want that, look up the highlights. Against the Warriors, he smacks them. He's solid. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Many people think that he can really stretch the floor, but he shot 29% from the three-point line last season, so he's not exactly a solid three-point shooter, knockdown, but I think given, an open shot or I think he might have forced some last season, but I think given the right system he could perform, and I know people are going to say, the Spurs, it's like the perfect system. Not for everybody. It's a really niche system that Greg Popovich handpicks, so we'll see. Jonathan Simmons, here we go. The Magic waived CJ Watson, backup point guard for the Orlando Magic, former Pacers point guard. I'm kind of not happy. I would never be happy because, the Magic got rid of a guy, but he wasn't exactly the greatest player. He was solid. He was fine, but he wasn't anything special. I think he was a little overpaid, and that contract is going to be on our cap if no one claims him, and I will keep you posted on if somebody claims him off of waivers. We'll see. I'm hoping that in that backup point guard position we can get someone like Derek Walton Jr. from Michigan. He's been playing pretty solidly for our summer league team. And hopefully he gets signed onto the team on a 1-year or a 2-year. We'll see. He got invited to training camp, but he's been playing solid. Hopefully, I think Magic are looking for a more youth movement to back up Elfrid Payton. If Elfrid Payton could shoot, man, hopefully. The Magic signed Shelvin Mack, former Utah Jazz guard, to a 2-year, $12 million deal. Man, these guys get paid a lot, don't they? I like this signing. He's nothing to write home about defensively. He's average. In the 2015-16 season, he averaged 12.7 points, 5.3 assists per game. So, he's a two-way guard. He can do both. He's 1 year removed from that year, however, where he was a solid role player for the Jazz. And, man, you got to feel for the Jazz. They're just losing players left and right. After they built a solid core, gaining 10 wins per season. But I think this will bring a spread to the floor. I think he can kind of shoot the three. But, the Magic are looking for a youth movement, and he's young. So, we'll see how this plays out. We're looking to improve offensively on a Magic team that ranked 22nd in points at 107.6 points per game, 22nd being near the bottom half of the league, being 30 teams. Another prospect for the Orlando Magic, Jonathan Isaac. He's been performing pretty well in the Summer League in Orlando, which recently ended. He scoring 10.3 points per game and getting 8.0 rebounds per game. So almost a double-double, not a triple-double, double-double. And you know, it's kind of obvious when you're watching. He's one of the better players on the floor, but he hasn't been, spectacular. He's been playing pretty good. Nothing to write home about, but definitely notable, if that makes sense. So a lot of talk's been going on whether to play him at the 3 or the 4, that being small forward or power forward. He played power forward in college a lot, sometimes moving to the 3 over at Florida State. He's definitely more of a 4, being as big as he is. But the thing is the Magic already have a 4. They have Aaron Gordon. And a lot of people are like, oh, Aaron Gordon can play the 3 too. He really can't. He's not that good of a knockdown shooter. We'll see if he improved his shot this offseason. But he's more of a 4. He's got good post-up skills, and he can definitely drive to the basket. So we'll see about that. But Jonathan Isaac will definitely play better at the 4, so he'll probably play a backup 4 position. But he's your first-round draft pick, like top 10 draft pick, lottery pick. You have to start him. Or you don't have to, but if you want him to develop as fast as you want him to, he has to get like actual minutes. So I'm worried for him at this position because he might not develop as fast as the Magic need him to, and the Magic are looking to make the playoffs in the next couple of years. They're looking to get out of this rebuild. The East is weak, and we can make the 8 seed. If we just stick together. Frank Vogel looking to make a more strong defensive team, and then improve us offensively as well. So we'll see how he does. I personally didn't agree with the Magic's pick of Jonathan Isaac. I think he has one of the higher higher ceilings of players in this draft. But I think the Magic would have benefited more from a point guard like Dennis Smith Jr., who's been playing pretty well in the Summer League. So I don't know. Jonathan Isaac, it wasn't a bad pick, but I would have preferred somebody else. But we'll see how he does, obviously. So moving on from the Orlando Magic, the Florida State football team have been recently in the news, more specifically Jimbo Fisher, claiming that the ACC is the best conference in football. Now, this is obviously open for debate. So, you look at teams in the ACC, you have Louisville with Lamar Jackson, you have North Carolina, always been a solid team, Florida State, obviously, Clemson, the national champions. They're stacked. They're pretty good. Kind of, I guess. But you have the SEC to think about too. A lot of teams are very underrated in the SEC. You have Florida, one of the better defensive teams in the country. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I'm a Florida Gator fan. So you have Alabama, who went to the national championship, and they're really good. You have Vanderbilt, always underrated. They almost beat Florida this year. Kentucky, Georgia, Tennessee, all these teams are capable of beating most ACC teams, but you look at how the SEC did in the bowl games this year, and it's really hard to make an argument for them. You look at the Big Ten, too. They played pretty well. They didn't perform that well. ACC killed it in the bowl games this year. There's no denying that. Florida State over Michigan, stuff like that. But Big Ten, you always have Ohio State, who got shut out this year. Oh boy. I'm kind of a Michigan fan too. Michigan, obviously. Jim Harbaugh looking to make the national championship in the next couple years. Teams like that. Iowa, they're very good. So, yeah, in the Pac-12, man, they're always decent. And there's a lot of parity in the NCAA, so we'll see how it goes. It's always a toss-up. The Florida State Seminoles have opened up in Vegas as 43% odds favorites to win the ACC. I agree with that number. Maybe I think it's more the ACC the stat was their division of the ACC. So you have Clemson's division. They're obviously probably going to win it. We'll see how they do without Deshaun Watson. But Florida State, obviously very good favorites to win their division in the ACC and make it to the ACC championship. So, also, their recruiting class opened up at 4th, one of the higher rankings they've gotten in the recent years. So, moving on. Excuse me. Florida Gators football. The Florida Gators recently got transfer Malik Zaire. I hope I didn't botch that name. Malik Zaire from Notre Dame. He transferred and he's looking to bring Florida over the hump offensively. Over the hump meaning Alabama, the biggest hump there is in college football. He brings a sort of new, not vibe, but rejuvenation to the offense. He can throw it down the field. He can throw it short. He's a great throwing quarterback, and he's also kind of mobile. So the Florida Gators have been lacking offensively at the quarterback position, last year being Appleby, if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm sorry, and Felipe Franks, who played limited minutes. So, the quarterback position has been a struggle for the Gators the past couple years, ever since, Treon Harris, Jeff Driscoll. That was a fiasco. So, yeah, the Florida Gators obviously are looking to keep their defense consistent. Defensive back university, that's, the nickname. They have a lot of returning starters this year, and they had a lot leave the team. Marcus May got drafted to the Jets this year, the starting safety of almost 4 years. But you have people like Chauncey Gardner Jr. coming in from Cocoa. He had a solid season last year. In the bowl game, he had 2 interceptions. He was the MVP of the bowl game, and he's looking to improve on that season, hopefully make himself into a solid starter in the SEC. Moving on to the Miami Heat, lastly, for today. So, the Miami Heat, their prospect, Bam Adebayo, he is their rookie first-round pick playing in the Summer League. He's averaging 15.7 points per game and 8.7 rebounds per game in the Vegas tournament. And when the Orlando Summer League tournament ended, he averaged 17.5 points per game and 8.3 rebounds per game. So Bam is going to be looking to improve a defensive team that ranked 5th in points allowed last season in the Miami Heat, which is pretty good. You can keep taking steps forward with a rebounding presence like that. So he's going to limit offensive rebounds for opponents, and he's going to improve offensive rebounding and scoring for a team that ranked 21st in scoring and 15th in rebounding last season. He has good post presence. He's got good moves. He can drive. He doesn't have a handle, which is to be expected for a power forward like him. So, the Miami Heat also re-signed Dion Waiters to a massive deal. We'll see how that does for the Miami Heat. He was a solid player last season. Remember him hitting down the game-winning 3 to beat the Golden State Warriors last season. Dion Waiters is a solid point guard for them. They obviously still have Goran Dragic, something like that. I botch names, man. This is how it is. But, he's a solid player. Probably more than solid. He has all-star potential. He's still young. If he reach that potential, it's a whole nother conversation. He's a knockdown 3-point shooter, and if you even remember when he was in Cleveland, him and Kyrie, that was a duo right there. They could knock down threes and drive. And Kyrie Irving, obviously one of the more versatile offensive players in the NBA this season. And in his career, he's looking to take Cleveland to the finals again with LeBron James. But obviously the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic are nowhere near that. The Miami Heat going 41-41 last season without Dwayne Wade for the first time in a long time. They probably will be a playoff team this year in the East, which is one of the weakest Easts I've seen in years. The East used to be so stacked, and the West was like, But now everything's shifted, man. Everything is over in the West now. People are flocking there. It's not even funny. But that's a conversation for a whole nother day. Yeah, thank you for listening. I know this one was short, but I just wanted to get something up on the channel. It was real quick. Real quick. Yeah, the Rays opened up in the second half. The Tampa Bay Rays opened up the second half of their season with a 2-1 victory over the Angels, even though Mike Trout had returned. So, yeah, they're looking to continue a good season. They're currently positive. They're over 500. They're one of the weakest error teams in Major League Baseball. They rank 27th in errors, and so they're looking to trade for a second baseman right now before the deadline, and we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you guys posted on that. And yeah, so thank you guys for listening. Subscribe to the podcast at soundcloud.com/Florida Sports Podcast. I will update as often as I can with school and college and stuff like that. So sports, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, thank you for listening, and you guys have a good day.